take the free will out of education, that turns it into schooling. With this quote, when you take the free will out of education, that turns it into schooling. With this quote from John Taylor Gatto, I welcome you to another edition of this wonderful program on radio, Education Today. Education Today is a program that aims to call attention of the public to education matters as they affect the effective running of the educational system and the achievement of educational goals. This comes on air every Saturday on this station, Light Radio.
Our goal is to educate, inform, orientate, and entertain the society on educational matters, address issues affecting the educational system, influence public opinion, and drive effective educational policy directions to guide the formulators and the implementers. For your comments, questions, and contributions, remember you can reach us on Facebook via www.facebook.com/lightradio, Twitter @TheLightRadio, Instagram light_radio, YouTube Light Radio. You can also call or send us a message via SMS or WhatsApp on 0809 738 4000.
We'll go on a quick break now. When we return, the program continues. Please stay with us.
If you just joined in, you are listening to Education Today on Light Radio. We kick off with the new segment with Aisha. Hi, Aisha.
Hello, Said.
Yeah, you can go ahead with the news, please.
This is the news on Education Today, reaching you live from Light Radio. I am Aisha Hussein. First, the headlines. JAMB issues warning to institution over non-CAPS admission. Student loan. NANS commend EFCC's 50 billion contribution to NEL fund. No directive on 70,000 minimum wage payment to core members, NYSC. 2024 WASC result, over 11.9% result withheld for malpractice. And on the foreign scene, Minouche Shafik resigned as Colombian president for Gaza war protest. Now the details. The Joint Admission Matriculation Board, JAMB, has issued warning that all tertiary institutions must disclose candidates admitted outside the Central Admission Processing System, CAPS, before the August 31st, 2024 deadline. However, the board noted a significant number of candidates have been visiting its office to resolve issues related to admission made out of CAPS from 2017 till date. Meanwhile, the emphasis is said to be on institutions which are required to disclose all candidates admitted outside CAPS before the August 31st, 2024 deadline. This directive demands immediate attention and compliance. JAMB's public communication advisor, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, stated a Thursday press release in Abuja. The Senate President, National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, Afiz Akinteye, has commended the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, over its contribution to Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund. Recall that the EFCC disclosed the fund injection into NEL Fund when the fund's Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Akintunde Sawyer, led its management team on courtesy visit to EFCC headquarters in Abuja. The NANS President of the Senate, in a statement made available online, appreciated the Commission's generous donation of 50 billion naira to the NEL Fund, saying the remarkable gesture is not only a reflection of EFCC's dedication to combating financial crimes, but also a demonstration of its commitment to the future of Nigerian students who are leaders of tomorrow. Akintaya also noted that the loan will help in empowering students and ease financial burden on families, adding that it will as well reduce the incidence of school dropout due to financial constraints. The National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, has debunked claims circulating on social media about upgrading corps members' bank accounts to accommodate a new minimum wage of 70,000 naira. In a statement released on Saturday, the NYSC Director of Information and Public Relations, Eddie Megwa, said that no official directive has been issued to implement the 70,000 minimum wage or modify the core member's bank account. Megwa described the report as misleading and entirely false. The statements read in part, the attention of National Youth Service Corps management has been drawn to misleading information circulating in the media regarding payment of 70,000 minimum wage to corps members and the directive to upgrade their account. This is an absolute falsehood which is far from the truth. The NYSC therefore urged corps members to be cautious and not be misled by the false information being spread by mischief makers. The head of National Office of WAEC in Nigeria, Dr. Amos Josiah Dangote, has said the result of 215,267 candidates, representing 11.92% of the total, are being withheld in connection with various reported cases of examination malpractice. Out of the 1,805,216 candidates who sat for the examination, this, the council said, amounts to a 4.3% decrease from the 16.29% recorded in 2023 WASC for school candidates. WAEC Nigeria released the result of 2024 May-June diet of the West African Senior School Certificate Examination WASC on Monday, 12th August 2024. A performance analysis of the results shows that 1,332,089 candidates, representing 73.79% of the students, obtained credit and above in a minimum way of any 5 subjects, with or without English and mathematics, while a total of 1,301,941 candidates, representing 72.12%, obtained credit and above in a minimum of 5 subjects, including English language and mathematics. Thus, a year-on-year comparison for this category reveals that the 2024 WASC saw a 7.69% decrease from the 79.81% pass rate recorded in 2023. And on the foreign scene, Minouche Shafik, the president of Columbia University, has announced her resignation after a tumultuous year marked by tension with staff and students over her handling of campus protests against Gaza war. The university announced her departure in a statement on its website on Wednesday, 14th August 2024. David Greenberg and Claire Shipman, co-chairs of the University Board of Trustees, said they understood and respected her decision. Recall that the protest against Gaza war began on Columbia's New York City campus in April, inspiring similar encampments and other institutions across the United States and beyond. And as the protest gathered momentum, Shafik was summoned to a congressional committee over allegations the university had failed to protect students and staff from rising anti-Semitism. Shafik's resignation was welcomed by some of the protesters as well as those who had accused her of allowing anti-Semitism to flourish. The trustees said Katrina Armstrong will step in as Columbia interim president. She is currently the chief executive officer of the Columbia University Irving Medical Center. And that's all on the news for today. But before we go, another look at the major stories. JAMB issues warning to institution over non-CAPS admissions. Student loan. NANS commend EFCC 50 billion naira contribution to NEL fund. No directive on 70,000 minimum wage payment to core members, NYSC. 2024 WASC results, over 11.9% results withheld from malpractice. And on the foreign scene, Minouche Shafik resigns as Columbia president after Gaza war protest. That's it. That's the news. It was compiled by Nima Ibrahim and edited by OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. For coverage of your educational events, seminars, conference, fairs, competition, among others, you can call us on 070-250-74268, or you can send us an email via educationmediaservices@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. That's all we can take on the news for today. Right now, we'll take the Did You Know segment.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Did You Know segment of Education Today, where we consider random ideas, thoughts, personalities, events, concepts, and celebrations that many people are unaware of. The objective is to broaden our horizon and increase our base knowledge of things around us beyond what is taught in schools and classes. I am OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Today I want to talk about the Swahili language, Jambo, that is hello in Swahili. Swahili, also known as Kiswahili, is a beautiful Bantu language originally spoken by millions of Swahili people who are found primarily in East Africa and coastal areas around Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, Mozambique, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Here are some basic Swahili phrases. Jambo means hello. Habari gani means how are you. Nzuri sana means very good. Asante means thank you. Kwaheri means goodbye. Also, here are some useful words that you can use probably if your journey takes you to Kenya or Uganda. Mtu means person. Mwana means child. Mzazi means parent. Shule means school. Chakula is food. And maji means water. Alright, so you need to listen to some of these interesting facts about the Swahili language. Swahili is a Bantu language with influences from Arabic, Portuguese, and German. It is an official language of the African Union and the East African Community (EAC). Swahili has a simple grammar system with no verb conjugation or tenses. The language has a very rich literary tradition, including poetry and storytelling. Swahili is spoken by people of various ethnic backgrounds, making it a lingua franca in the region. Swahili is spoken by over 100 million people in East Africa, making it one of the most widely spoken languages on the African continent. Swahili serves as a lingua franca, meaning that it's used as a common language for communication among people of different ethnic groups. Swahili has borrowed heavily from the Arabic language, with about 40% of its vocabulary coming from Arabic loanwords. Even the word Swahili is from the Arabic root, which is the plural of coastal areas. Swahili has a rich literary tradition with famous poets and writers like Shaban Robert and Euphrates Kezilahabi. In 2022, based on Swahili's growth as a prominent international language, the United Nations declared and designated Swahili Language Day on 7th July to commemorate the date that Julius Nyerere adopted Swahili as a unifying language for African independence struggles. Other key statistics and facts about the Swahili language include that there are 5 to 10 million native speakers in Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. There are over 100 million total speakers, including non-native speakers. It is an official language in Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. Swahili is used as a language of instruction in schools in Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. Swahili is used in media outlets such as newspapers, radio, and television stations in East Africa. Swahili is widely used in trade and commerce in East Africa. It is used in the tourism industry in East Africa, particularly in Tanzania and Kenya. So in case you want to travel to Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, or Nairobi, you can actually pick up a lesson in Swahili language. It will come in very, very handy. Then Swahili uses the Latin alphabet, but had also been written in the Arabic script. Swahili has several dialects, including Kiunguja, that is the Tanzanian Swahili, Kiamu, that is the Kenyan Swahili, and Luganda, which is the Ugandan dialect of the Swahili language. Swahili is used in government administration in Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I believe that with this, Now you know about the Swahili language. That's all on the Did You Know segment for this week. I am OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Education Today continues shortly. Please stay with us.
Jumbo. So that was the Did You Know segment. Right now, we'll take the International Days by Saeed.
Good afternoon and welcome to the International Day segment of Education Today, where we take a look at different days earmarked by the United Nations to commemorate different aspects of our lives as global citizens. I am Saeed Aremu. Today we will be considering the World Humanitarian Day. The World Humanitarian Day is officially commemorated on the 19th of August every year to 1. Honor humanitarian workers who risk their lives to save others, to recognize sacrifices of aid workers who have lost their lives in service, to raise awareness about humanitarian crises and the need for support, and finally, to mobilize action to protect civilians in conflict zones. On the 19th of August 2003, a bomb attack on the Canal Hotel in Baghdad, Iraq, killed 22 humanitarian aid workers, including the UN Special Representative of the Secretary General for Iraq, Sergio Vieira de Mello. 5 years later, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution designating 19th of August as World Humanitarian Day, WHD. WHD is a campaign by the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA. Activities to commemorate the day usually include: first, a memorial service for fallen humanitarian workers; secondly, awareness campaigns on social media and in various communities; thirdly, fundraising events to support humanitarian causes; fourthly, humanitarian awards to recognize outstanding contributions; and finally, community events to promote global solidarity. Every year, a team is announced for the day by the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, UNOCHA, to focus on a pressing humanitarian issue, bringing together partners from across the humanitarian system to advocate for the survival, for the well-being, and for the dignity of people affected by crises, and for the safety of security and aid workers. 2023 was the deadliest year on record for humanitarian workers. 2024 could be even worse. These facts lay a bare glaring truth. The world is failing humanitarian workers and by extension the people that they serve. Despite universally accepted international laws to regulate the conduct of armed conflicts and limit its impact, violations of these laws continue unabated, unchallenged, and unchecked. And while civilians, including aid workers, pay the ultimate price, the perpetrators continue to evade justice. This failure of those in power cannot be allowed to continue. Attacks on humanitarian workers and humanitarian assets must stop. Attacks also on civilians and civilian infrastructure must stop. The WH theme for this year is #ActForHumanity. I repeat, the WHD theme for this year is #ActForHumanity, so you can trend it on Twitter. For this year, we demand an end to these violations and the impunity with which they are committed. It is time for those in power to end impunity and act for humanity. These efforts are geared towards confronting the normalization of attacks on civilians, including humanitarians, and impunity under international humanitarian law, IHL. The aim is to build public support to help pressure parties to conflict and world leaders to take action to ensure the protection of civilians, including humanitarians in conflict zones, from occupied Palestinian territory to Sudan to Myanmar and beyond. The first half of 2024 was characterized by attacks against health, education, and water and sanitation facilities that left millions of people without access to the services that they need the most to survive. In 2023, the number of aid workers killed more than doubled in 2 years, from more than 18 in 2022 to a staggering 261 in 2023. The OCHA will also release the latest aid worker security data and trends and hold events around the world to demand that those in power act for humanity. Let's come together to make a difference in the life of those affected by crisis. Join the campaign. That's it on International Day segment. I am Saeed Aremu. Education Today continues in a moment. Please stay with us.
You are still on Education Today on Light Radio. Right now, we are moving into the discuss segment, and our guest is here with us. Today, we are discussing WASC 2024 results, matters arising. Now, a little look into the background. On Monday, 12th August 2024, the West African Examination Council (WAEC) released the result of the 2024 to West African Senior School Certificate Examination for the May-June diet. The analysis showed that a total of 1,301,941 candidates, representing 72.12%, obtained credit and above in a minimum of 5 subjects, including English language and mathematics. On the program, we want to analyze the performance, the withheld results, and other adjoining issues. Joining us on the program today, we have an educational administrator, lecturer, researcher, educational consultant, and our in-house analyst, Mr. OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Aisha. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
You can be part of the discourse by sending your comments and questions to 08097 384,000 or drop your comment via the live video feeds on Facebook and YouTube. Before moving into the discourse proper, our short quiz question: what is the theme of this year's World Humanitarian Day? Send your answer to the WhatsApp number 08097 384,000 or our Facebook or YouTube page. The first correct answer wins our prize. So, going into the discourse, I would like to ask first, what were your expectations before the release of the WASC 2024 results, and were they met?
All right, thank you very much. Concerning my expectation for the WASC 2024, I really didn't expect so much, especially going by the fact that I saw the performance in the UTME, and I was like, if this is what we are getting at a higher level, and many of those that wrote the UTME would also write the SSCE, I really didn't expect much. And for me, naturally, especially as a Nigerian, I don't expect much from people. You know, blessed are those who do not expect much, for they shall not be disappointed. That has been my, my approach. Yeah, to life generally. So I feel like whatever happens, we go with it. That for me to expect so much, and at the end of the day, what I get probably would, not meet my expectations. So it will leave me disappointed. Or sometimes it even gives me, psychological, problems, because I feel like, what exactly is going on, and what else can we do? Are we not doing enough, and things like so? I get disturbed a lot. So that's why I try as much as possible to limit my expectations on different things. And for this particular one, I really didn't expect much, because at the same time, you look at the fact that there are a whole lot of distractions out there, and many students are really not coming up with. There is no encouragement generally for people engaged in education. So if people no longer fancy or they don't get serious with their education, I'm not surprised. So, and that's why for me, I really don't expect so much. So when I see people perform very well, well, I give them kudos for the fact that, well, regardless of the challenges, the distractions around, they're still able to probably come out well. Then I think I would be able to give them kudos. And for this particular one, what I saw surpassed my expectation, sincerely. Especially coming from the outcome of the UTME result, where more than 70, about 75% of students actually fell, scored below 200 over 400. So you now have this one where you still have over 70%, pass rates, 5 credits, including English and mathematics. That's for me, it's good. See, I teach you the university, and if you score 70, that's an A. So I feel like, yeah, to a large extent, it's still something to hold on to, even if we would have wished to be better. Because by the time you actually look at it critically, you find out that that performance was less than what was recorded in 2023. In 2023, it had about close to about 70 some about 76 or probably 79%. Let me not make mistakes. So between 76 and 79% was actually the pass rate, 5 credits, including English language and mathematics. But this year it actually dropped to 72%. So that's a retrogression. But then coming out of the experience of UTME, I'll still say it's a giant step in the right direction, even though we could have still done better. And in education generally, we say yes, good performance, but there is room. Keep it up. There is room for you to do more. There is room for improvement. Yeah, thank you. That's the right.
How do you think the result will impact students' future academic and career prospects?
Well, the thing is, SSC is the most important thing for anyone who actually dreams of higher education.
Okay.
And even beyond higher education, even for if you are interested in politics, the minimum you can do, the minimum you need to have is actually the SSCE. So if that is it, then automatically you would have a leeway if you have your SSCE. So at least one way or the other, if you have been able to get a very good result, you have guaranteed yourself one way or the other, except probably if we decide to raise the bar in the nearest future to see that SSC is no longer satisfactory as a minimum qualification for anyone to actually hold public office. But as it is currently, for you to contest an election, that's what you need. But beyond that is, if you actually dream of going to higher, beyond secondary education, then the minimum requirement is SSC. Because you cannot get any admission into any tertiary institution without your SSC. Even if you pass UTME without SSC, you're going nowhere. You don't have to even write UTME for you to gain admission into tertiary institution.
Really?
Yes. Your admission has to be sanctioned by JAM, but you don't have to sit to write UTME. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you won't go through JAM. Yeah. What I'm saying is you don't have to sit for UTME before you can get admission into tertiary institution. So, but without your SSC, you can't go anywhere. And mind you, your SSC is actually determines even the course you'll be able to study. So if probably, imagine someone who is interested in studying medicine and pass all the papers, with the exception of biology, you're going nowhere. So it's just like telling you that kiss your medicine admission goodbye. So if you're interested in probably studying engineering and you failed physics, if you pass every other thing, that is no substitute for it. So you can't go anywhere. Or imagine someone who wants to study mass comm. I actually failed literature. You're going nowhere. Even if you have 5 credits, including English language and mathematics. So your performance in the SSC, determines a lot as far as your career ambition is concerned. So I think that for this, one way or the other, at least for many students, for some now, with this result, they start thinking of a career shift. Because now you are saying, okay, if I actually didn't pass this particular subject, which is a major requirement for this particular course, then probably, what other courses can I do with this combination? So you now start thinking of other alternatives or options for you.
So I will ask, what do you think are the major factors contributing to the performance trend observed in the 2024 results?
Now, because we're talking about the fact, we are doing 2024 now, we're analyzing 2024. And I think a basis for comparison now will probably be for us to consider the 2023. So at least we can see if at all we are actually moving forward or moving backwards. Now, for the fact that now this is poorer than what was recorded in 2023, and mind you, even this is even something that we really need to commend, especially for the female folk. So the performance in 2023 was better than that of the males. This year again, they still retained it, although the gap is actually closing up. So, but then, that's to show you that seriously, the girl child education in Nigeria is actually gaining traction, and people are actually giving it the right, attention that it deserves. We are trying to prove to the world that the place of a woman is not in the kitchen. It's not just in the other room. It's not just about producing babies, but they also have meaningful contribution when it comes to national development, when it comes to human capital development. So that is something that is really, really commendable, and we really need to also challenge the male folk that it's not enough for you to just say you are the males. You have to prove being male, being masculine with your performance, not just by words of mouth. It's not just even about physical energy. Now, your intellectual capacity must also actually show that you are also a male. So what are you guys doing? What is happening to you? You also need to improve. And mind you, if you actually even look at the statistics of registrants, we have more female students registering for exam than male students. So it shows quite well that probably if you disaggregate the number of out-of-school children, I think most likely you find even more males than females that are out of school. And that's something for us to actually chew on. But that's not what we're doing. But now, looking at the fact that what could have contributed to all we are seeing now, first I would say is the disposition of the students to learning. Because a lot of students really, when we have a society where people tell you that who book help,
school na scam.
If you have people that have such mentality, naturally it would also translate to their preparation for exams. That's one. Number two is also the fact that if you consider a whole lot of distractions that are there and the economic challenges that people are also battling with, a lot of children that ought to concentrate in school are actually even being engaged in labor, in human labor, physical labor. And unfortunately, because a lot of them are also trying to support their parents, because their parents, what they are getting can no longer meet up with the needs of the family. So we are actually even having child labor with this economic condition, and that's for the government to also pay attention to. That the more the economy gets into the doldrums, part of what will be affected is actually the family end. Education will also suffer because a lot of people will probably even withdraw their children from schools and probably put them into vacation, or probably ask them to start supporting with selling one or two things just to be able to keep the upkeep of for the family upkeep. So it's important that we also take note of this, because a lot of people that ought to concentrate on their studies probably have to go and stay with their mom's shop, help their mom at the shop, help their dad at their place of work, and so many other things like that, buying and selling and doing so many other things. When ordinarily that's not their business, because we are talking about minors here. We're not talking about those probably that are above 18 that are already considered adults. We're talking about those who are still minors. So that's something that, one way or the other, for me, I feel also contributes to whatever we are seeing in terms of the result. Beyond that is also the fact that the issue of infrastructure. See, there is a need for us to actually fix public infrastructure in our school system. That's something very, very critical. If we don't take care of that, people would not get, learning will not be conducive. What kind of environment do teachers work in? What kind of environment do students learn? So if you don't fix this, that would also be a problem. More importantly, again, is also the fact that how do you even conduct the exams? Is this something that we allow examination malpractice? Is this something that probably we just even pack people together, or we are still having miracle centers, special centers, and so many other things like that, where people, because of corruption, and a lot of people you will not be able to eradicate corruption when the economy is this harsh. Because we are talking about survival. Anything we will do for people, any way by which they can make money just to be able to earn a living, or hook or crook, God bless you. So even if it's crooked means, people would not bother just because they want to survive. And we must not give room for such to fester. By the time we do that, it will become more difficult for us to actually, preach or emphasize the issue of ethics in our, public life. So it is something. So I feel that it's a combination of different factors that, that we are seeing here. A situation where even students are not properly taught. A situation where students don't even have the necessary, materials to learn. A situation where, in fact, in some schools, they don't even have laboratories. Or in some places where you only have laboratory, but there is nothing inside that actually makes it laboratory. Laboratory are now classes. It's actually where they have their biology classes, their physics classes, their chemistry classes. It's not because they are doing any practical there. So because you don't have enough classes and you have to put them there because you still shuttle or you shuffle between students in between or among different classes that are available. And because you're talking about subjects where your department will determine the subject that you'll be able to offer. So at that particular point in time, even there are some schools, including even private schools, some of these mushroom private schools, the class is just one class for all the categories of students. So when it's time for one subject or the other, some set of people will leave for the others. So by the time you are having that, where you don't have designated classes for people that say, okay, if you are science class, this is science class. If this is art class, this is art class. If this is commercial class, this is commercial class. When you don't have such clearly delineated classes, these are some of the things that would happen. So all this, like I said, is a combination of different factors that resulted into this kind of performance that we're seeing in this WASC 2024.
So with all you've said, so what measure can be taken to address the challenges faced by students in certain subjects and even family and everything?
Well, it's for us to actually look at the peculiarities of the students, peculiarities of the schools, and the peculiarities of probably some of these regions. I'll give you an instance. For example, if you talk about the North, you have more male children in schools than female children. In the Southeast, you have more female children in the schools than the males. In the Southwest, there seems to be a level of balance between the number of male and females in schools. So that's a factor that we really need to consider. Then beyond that is the fact that in addressing some of these challenges faced by schools, I would say that government really needs to improve its, what we call the quality assurance, mechanism. In the sense that who are those that are supposed to actually supervise the schools, visit the schools to ensure that the necessary facilities are in place, whether it's public, whether it's private. Because a lot of public schools, let me tell you, like I said, I've said it several times, that if we are to subject, I said it last week, if we are to subject public schools to the same standard that we subject private schools before they can get approval, many public schools would also fail. So if at the end of the day we are really not doing much in terms of quality assurance mechanism within these schools, whether it's public, whether it's private, then what we are saying will also continue. Then again is the fact that are we also recruiting enough teachers? Are we having specialist teachers teaching the right kind of subjects where they have their specialization? If you go to so many private schools, they will tell you that, okay, what did you study? You studied engineering and you're unable to get a job. You can be able to teach mathematics, you can teach physics, you can teach further maths, you can teach chemistry because you did engineering. Without, having any educational background, that's a problem. Or where you have a situation where in some schools, in public schools now, you have, there are specialist teachers, but the reality is the number of students compared to the number of teachers, there is a mismatch. The class sizes are very large. So, and a teacher will feel like, I cannot keep myself up. Oh yeah, SS2A, go and collect notes in SS2B.
They teach in the university.
No. You see, because we are talking about secondary school level now. So the reality is, by the time you do that, where you only go to one class, other classes go and collect notes. Now, do they understand what they are writing? Sometimes some of the students that even wrote those notes, it is probably the captain or one note writer, that wrote it on the board. So if there are mistakes in what the teacher has written, they don't even know. So they just write it. So you are writing rubbish, you are copying rubbish, and you are reading rubbish, and at the end of the day, the result you get will also be rubbish. So it's becomes a trend of rubbish. So that's something that we really need to guard against. So government really needs to recruit more teachers for the public school system. The private school system must also have the right quality and quantity of teachers. Then the quality assurance mechanism must also be top-notch. Then again, even for those that are recruited as supervisors for WAEC, that supervise some of these exams, there is a need for WAEC to also ensure that, you are also observing those who are observing the schools. Observe the observer. So that is very, very critical. There was a time I know quite well that I given some special guidance to monitor what is going on, so that at least there could be real-time monitoring from their offices, the same way JAM does, the monitoring of UTME. But I think there is a limit. A lot of these schools, because if look at the result now, about 215,000 results were actually withheld for different infractions, malpractices. Now, if that is still happening within our educational system, then something is amiss. So about 11%, that's what you're saying. And that's very, very critical. So we really need to pay attention to some of these things. That if we don't address them, we'll continue to have a station where people feel like, I can always buy my way. I can do Miracle Center. We can get a place where we register people and the teachers will always come and teach them when it's time for exam. And the WAEC supervisor, take this your own, this is your own, welfare, so to say. Your transport allowance, or this and that. You know, he has been a good man. You have been very, very nice to us, being very kind. You know, he's a nice man. That one is a very wicked man, but this one is a very nice man. He did not even trouble us. Okay, don't worry, just sit down here. They bring tea, they bring everything for you. You also collect your brown envelope. And at the end of the day, you still go and claim your money from WAEC. If you still continue to do that, then this situation will continue where people feel like they would not, you know, depend solely on their preparation. Now they feel like at least the school will pay, because many schools actually pay to the school management to facilitate some of these things we're talking about.
So sad. So, what role do you think technology and innovation can play in enhancing student performance?
Well, it starts from the teaching itself. It starts from the teaching, in the sense that we really need to infuse technology into teaching so that we can remove the so-called abstraction from learning. In the sense that, imagine that you're teaching them, let me give you an instance. I'm teaching geography as a subject, and I'm talking about earthquakes. I'm teaching them earthquakes, I'm teaching them tremor, I'm teaching them hurricane, I'm teaching them, some of these typhoons and the likes like that. Now, these students are here in Nigeria. They've never seen earthquake before. They've never experienced earthquake. They've never experienced tremor. And some have not even seen typhoon. They've never experienced hurricane. You know, in some of these other places, God has blessed us so much in this particular country where we seldom witness, some of these, natural disasters. And that's what I'm actually teaching in geography. Now, ordinarily, even if I would not say I would take them to a place where earthquake is happening for them to feel it. But then we can actually, if there is infusion of technology, we can actually go online